Instead of investing $1 billion into Kanye West ideas, how about you invest $5 into my podcast? It was a rainy Saturday night. No, a little worse. Perfect. It was a rainy Saturday night. I was comfortably laying in bed enjoying my midterm, and then I remembered. Ooh, RS Gold. I really should get to doing that project. I'll do it tomorrow. Sunday arrived, and I knew that I had made the wrong decision. Cody, I just don't believe I waited until the last minute to do this project. No! Oh, okay. I searched high and low for the information I needed to create the perfect podcast. And now I am prepared to reveal my plan. Let's get serious. There are 3 main podcast types: multi-host, solo, and interview. My podcast type will be multi-host because it is more conversational and it will be easier for the viewer to listen to. I also will be using a more conversational and comedic sound, although I will be featuring some episodes where I believe that a more serious sound will be necessary. I will be the fixed host for the podcast, and I will have other rotating guests and other hosts. The host will most likely be some of my friends who are also college students. But if it is a more serious topic, I'm going to enlist the help of a professional in the field of which I'm discussing, or someone who I feel who has the authority to discuss such a topic. Our target audience will be college students aged 18 to 25, but I plan for the show to be diverse and open enough that younger people, meaning high school students, can listen to it and enjoy it, and also maybe those who are out of college and just want something to think about on the way to work or just before they start their day. I plan to make my podcast more engaging for my target audience by using the appropriate introductory music and also by using an appropriate tone, something that they can resonate with. I also plan on releasing my podcasts on Spreaker, SoundCloud, and also iTunes, which are applications that are easily accessible to my target audience. I plan to release podcasts every Monday morning. I will be using a dynamic microphone if I'm recording in T21, but if I am unable to access T21, I will be recording on a Video Mic Me. A Video Mic Me is a high-quality directional microphone for your iPhone or iPad, designed to give you incredible audio. This microphone plugs into the audio jack, and it also has an attachable furry windshield. This reduces outside noises such as wind or speaking in the background. I plan on using a camera to record promotional videos so that I can post them to my Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And I also will be using Adobe Audition to edit the audio for my podcast. To market my podcast, firstly, I will rely heavily on social media. So I will be posting promotional videos throughout the week on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, so that my listeners will have something to look forward to throughout the week, so they know that I'm coming up with a new episode and they can look at the footage and be like, hey, this is going to be a really good show. I also plan on putting the links to my podcast in my descriptions on Twitter and Facebook, and I also plan on having it in my bio. I will also be marketing my podcast by making it a lot more accessible to all viewers, seeing that with radios you only can really listen to them in your car or if you have a radio player, and in some instances you can play it from your phone or if they have a website, sorry. I plan on using iTunes to release my podcast because they have a podcast application which all Apple users have. I also plan on releasing on SoundCloud, which is a popular streaming website that most teenagers have access to and use. I also plan on using Spreaker, which is a website for podcasts only, because I feel as though I can gain a lot of listeners through that. I believe that marketing this way will be extremely effective because my target audience has a very heavy social media presence, and I believe that by marketing in that way, they will be a lot more in tune to the show who want to listen. Also, I believe that by having it accessible on SoundCloud and Spreaker and iTunes means that they have the ease of access. They can listen to it whenever they want to. They can pause, they can play, they can rewind, fast forward, and things like that. I do not want any official advertisers. I do not want to be too concerned with having to make my podcast shorter because I need to have a specific amount of time for advertising. If I had to use a sponsor or an advertiser, I would use a hair or nail company because many of my female viewers would be interested in that. I have a few companies in mind, mainly Princess Tresses, because I spoke with the owner and she would be willing to give me a discount for a pack of hair, a bundle set of hair. Crap. I do not plan on taking a mercenary approach with my podcast, but if necessary, I plan on having $100 on hand at all times in case there's any issues with my software or hardware. A podcast that I would like to use as an example for my podcast would be Ear Biscuits by Red and Link. They are popular YouTubers of a channel entitled Good Mythical Morning, and they're fairly humorous, and I enjoy listening to their podcast in the morning. I do not want to take the same style per se. While I would like to use a multi-host setting, much like they do, I would like to not focus on a particular person as they did. I want to focus on topics and not people. They invite guests every week and they speak with them about their life or their YouTube channel or what they do for a living and things like that. But I don't want to focus on people, as I said before. I'd like to focus more on particular topics. Another podcast that I would like to emulate is The Solid Pods. It is a Bahamian podcast that is hosted on SoundCloud, and while I do not want my podcast to be as explicit as their podcast is, not that I have a problem with that, it's just something that I would not want to do. I want it to be as humorous or somewhere near as humorous as their podcast is. Something that people will look forward to throughout the week because they have a large listenership and they're very popular with Bahamians on social media, and that's something that I would like to take from their podcast.
Yo, this is very flexing on these bitches.
Hey yo, this Rondell, aka Dome Thugs in Harmony.
Nah, this has already been the most lit nickname competition
What are you going to name it?
What?
What are you going to name it? What are you going to name it?
You know, I'm thinking I'm gonna name it Let's Talk About It. What you think about that one? Do you even want to answer me?